Before maps, before empires, before Puerto Rico was ever called Puerto Rico. There were people already here. Long before Columbus crossed the Atlantic, the island known today as Puerto Rico was called Borikén. And it was home to the Taíno and indigenous people whose lives were deeply connected to the land, the sea, and the spirit world. This is where Puerto Rican history begins, not with conquest, but with community. The Taíno were part of the larger Arawak-speaking peoples of the Caribbean. They lived in villages called yucayeques, usually near rivers and fertile land. These were not chaotic or primitive societies as they were once described in colonial histories. They were organized, intentional, and sustainable. Each village was led by a cacique, a chief whose authority came not just from power, but from responsibility to protect the people, manage resources, and maintain balance. Beneath the cacique were skilled artisans, farmers, fishers, and healers. Taíno society valued cooperation over competition. At the center of Taíno life was nature. The land was not something to be owned. It was something to be respected. The Taíno grew cassava, corn, sweet potatoes, and peppers using advanced agricultural techniques that protected the soil. The sea provided fish and shellfish, while forests offered wood, medicine, and shelter. Life followed the rhythms of the earth. But Taíno culture was not only physical, it was deeply spiritual. They believed in powerful spiritual beings called zemís. Zemís were not distant gods. They were present in everyday life, embodied in stone, wood, or bone, representing forces of nature, ancestors, and protection. Some zemís governed rain, others fertility, others healing. To the Taíno, the spiritual and physical worlds were not separate. Everything was connected. Ceremonies known as areitos combined music, dance, storytelling, and ritual. These gatherings preserved history, honored ancestors, and reinforced community identity. Memory lived in movement and song. One of the most important Taíno beliefs centered on balance between humans and nature, between the living and the ancestors, between the seen and unseen. This worldview shaped how they treated one another. Family and kinship were central. Children were raised collectively. Elders were respected as keepers of wisdom. Leadership was inherited through family lines, often matrilineal, meaning lineage passed through women, a detail that challenged European assumptions when contact later came, and contact would come. But before that moment, Borikén was not empty land waiting to be discovered. It was alive with language, knowledge, belief, and history. When Europeans later described the Taíno as peaceful or simple, those words were often used to justify exploitation. In reality, the Taíno were skilled navigators, engineers, and diplomats. They traded across islands and adapted to their environment with precision. Their world was not fragile, it was interrupted. Understanding Taíno life matters because their legacy did not disappear. Despite centuries of colonization, disease, and violence, Taíno culture survived, woven into Puerto Rican language, food, music, and identity. Words like hamaca, canoa, and barbacoa come directly from Taíno language. Cassava bread is still eaten today. Symbols once carved into stone reappear in modern art and jewelry. The Taíno are not just history, they are inheritance. As we move forward in this series into conquest, empire, resistance, and identity, we begin here. Not with Columbus, not with Spain, but with the people who first called this island home. Because to understand Puerto Rico, you must first understand